All right, it's been a really long day, so I've been trying to get to posting this stuff today, and just every stuff just kept coming up. But it's all right. It's all good. Better to be busy than not busy at all. So I want to talk to you briefly. I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes if at all possible. First of all, I need you to go to your Bible and go to the I think it's the 82nd Psalm, and I believe it's the sixth verse, 82, 6, yeah, 82 and 6. And I'm not going to, you can go there and you can read it on your own. But basically, that's where it talks about how God, the Most High, and he calls him the Most High, how he tells us that we are gods. And one of the most important things, or one of the hardest things to teach to people, is the fact that you are God. And it actually, what's really the funny thing is, it's not really a racial thing or anything like that. It's just the fact of the matter is that God, in his infinite wisdom, created us. And the other thing is, I really don't want to put a gender on it, but the creator God, the one that created us, the Most High, created us in their image and in their likeness. And once again, there's a whole lot of difference between image and likeness, because I can make something in my image, but just like you could have a kid, you can have your own kid that could be in your image but not be like you at all. And so that's why our nature as human beings has a big deal. It's a big deal. So our nature as human beings is actually a big deal. And so that's why and especially every black kid, every kid of African descent, every kid that has been denied this knowledge for years should know this knowledge, that you should tell your sons and your daughters that they are gods. And they are. And people are so scared. Everybody is scared to death. And ever since I made this discovery, and I've been telling people that you're God and that I'm God and that you're not the Most High God. But if you think about it, okay, you have all the powers of God. You have all the powers of the Creator God. The only thing is that you have to use their resources. So, for example, if I wanted to build a house, I have to use wood, metal, rubber, whatever it is. But it all comes from where? It comes from our mother, the earth. So everything that we use or everything that we make, it has to come from there. The second thing, that everything that we create, it has to come through our mind. Everything that exists on the earth, on the physical or the material plane, had to start off in somebody's head as an idea, a thought, a suggestion, or something. Everything. And everything, as I talk about all the time, everything in the material or physical plane, everything in those planes starts off in somebody's mind or starts off in the spiritual world. So that's why we're always talking about opening your third eye and opening up your pineal gland so that you can be able to communicate with the Most High. Because if you're able to communicate with the Most High, then any problems that you have, and so that's where any problems that you have, you can solve them simply by communicating with the Most High God. And you can do it directly from the inside. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to pray for it. You don't have to, keep asking for it over and over again. What you do is you take the spiritual and you manifest it in the physical or the material plane. And it's a known fact. Even the scriptures will bear you out. Write the vision and make it plain. Or those type of scriptures. As a man thinketh, so is he. There's a ton of scriptures that talk about this. Your word will not return void. Whatever you speak, it won't return back to you void. So if you understand these things, so that's why I tell people all the time, yeah, the Bible was tampered with, but our ancestors, the Moors, put it in code so that we could understand it. And one of the things is, so the key is, be a workman who can rightly divide the word of truth. All right. So if you're a workman who can rightly divide, dividing means that some of it is not true. if you have to divide something, that means that there's a part. That's like if you want egg whites or egg yolks, what do you have to do? You have to divide the yolks from the whites, or the whites from the yolks, right, in order to get one or the other. So it's the same concept. If you want to get the truth, then you have to know how to divide that word. And so there are things that are there, and everything that we're talking about, just like and all the stories are metaphorical, allegorical, and they're parable. That's what they are. So the stories in the Bible are not history. They're not history. They're there so that you can learn certain lessons about the nature, about your own nature, and how you get to certain levels of your nature. And so that's what. So this, so people talk about, so go to the, especially like go to the book of Revelations. The book of Revelations is completely about your body and the transformation of your body, and how you go from being a fleshly being into being a spiritual being. That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about, the end of the world and all of this stuff. The end of the earth, or the new heaven and the new earth, is your body and your mind being transformed. The new heaven and the new earth is you being transformed, because you are what? You are the Lord of the earth. So all of these things they're just metaphorical. They're not actual. They're not 100%, it's not history, it's not prophecy, it's just, if you know how to decipher the code, then you know what it means. And I could take you, and in fact, I plan to take you through a lot of this so that you understand exactly what it is you're getting from the scriptures. And it doesn't matter which book you go through, whatever religious book you go through, the Moors put it all in code, because they knew that people would come along and try to tamper with it and try to change it over time. Because there's always somebody that wants to conquer the world. There's always somebody that wants to control other people and be dominant over other people and have supremacy over other people and all of that kind of stuff. But that's not what spirituality is about. And so that's why we teach the universal laws, the fact that the universal laws apply to everybody equally, no matter what. See, we spend all this time talking about race, creed, color, sexual orientation, social status, financial status. All these things that we talk about are insignificant to the Creator God, to the Most High God. Those are not the things that they want you to focus on. So as you become more spiritually aware and more spiritually open, you realize that these things do exist. Yeah, they exist, but the other thing is that there are ways to overcome them and to conquer them. And so that's why we talk about meditation. Everybody goes and people, and see, here's like one of the contradictions. People in the Bible are talking about praying, but if you notice, even the Christ, Jesus, the Christ, and Jesus is a made up fictitious character, but even the Christ went off to himself and spent time alone meditating. He was not, it's like, and then Jesus went all by himself, and, we didn't see him for a while. Then all of a sudden he showed back up. Even in the scriptures, they talk about him being transfigured, or, so all of these things are metaphorical, because there are things that you can do. Why would he tell you that greater works you can do? And he's not talking about works in the physical or works in the material world. He's talking about works in the spiritual world. Why? Because his kingdom, they tell you, they give you keys. His kingdom is not a material or a thing made out of brick and mortar. It is a spiritual kingdom. But if you know these things, but your preacher won't tell you these things, because as you move up that hierarchy and you get to know who your true self is, the story of Jacob and his name being changed to Israel is not about him. It's not a historical story. What it is it's talking about him finally opening up his third eye, and once his third eye became open, then he knew who he was. And you have the same power and the same ability. You have to understand that all of this stuff is in the scriptures is written in code. And nobody wants to, everybody says, well, how can you say you're God? Well, look, go to John chapter 10 and verse 34. And even your Christ, your Jesus, and the only reason why we use the Bible, here's the reason, because 70% of people in the United States, of African people of African descent have a Bible. So, or have read the Bible or know something about the Bible or have been to church, even though they haven't told you the complete truth about it. The bottom line is, you know what I'm talking about because you probably have experienced it in your life. But on the real, there are things that are outside of those scriptures that can help you tremendously, and they don't want you to know that, because if I tell you how to heal yourself, then you don't need me. You don't have to come to church. You don't need to come to church. If I tell you how to heal yourself, why do you need me? You don't. Because then you won't come back next week, or even the fallacies that they tell you in church are ridiculous, and it's all about you understanding the power and the energy that's inside of you, which is the power and the energy of God. And the way that he created your body to disseminate that power and that energy. Even the law of attraction, all these things, and the 12 universal laws. So there are 12 universal laws, and there are also 12 signs of the zodiac, and there are 12 disciples, and there are 12 patriarchs of the 12 tribes of Israel, and all of this stuff. What do you think that is? It's telling you your own nature. It's trying to tell you your nature as being a human being. It's not trying to tell you, and all of this stuff about the sin and all that kind of stuff, that's ridiculous, because that's not what the ancients believed in. There was no such thing as that, and to prove it, that's why I always tell people, I say, look, even evil people are blessed. Didn't Hitler wake up every day and eat? Didn't he have, didn't he woke up every day? Didn't he have a roof over his head? All the things that we think that are miraculous or we're so blessed to have or whatever. Look, the bottom line is that, the scriptures say that you were made by the Most High, and then he blessed you. And when he blessed you, he put everything in you that you needed. And then he breathed the breath of life into you. And once you started living, all those chakras, those 7 chakras, and there are more chakras, but those 7 main chakras that are there inside of your body, they are generating all the time. They really are. And it's proven. They have hooked electrodes up to people's bodies and everything else. And this stuff, and because it came out of Africa and then it proceeded into Asia and then it went, and that's how come. But they try to tell you, well, all of this stuff is evil. Yoga, meditation, all of this stuff, it's not evil. It's how they managed to survive all of this time. That's why their societies and their cultures are ancient. And that's why, if you look at the Kemetic, the Kushite, and the Ethiopian science of their spirituality and their science, you will see that it is what I'm telling you. The Bible is a book of astrotheology and astrology. It's telling you about your nature as it relates to the universe. Just like when, you remember that old song, everybody is a star. Yeah, shining star for you to see what your life could truly be. Because look, if you do like this, what do you see? A star. Everybody's a star. Because you were created and made into energy. That's all you are, your energy, your harnessed energy. That's what's inside of this flesh. This flesh has nothing to do with who you are. In fact, you should be controlling it. That's what they're talking about in the scriptures. We don't war against, you can't war against this flesh. You can't war against another man's flesh or another woman's flesh. How can you do it? And we got to start. And then the other thing is, well, I'll talk about that later, but realize what it is. You are God. You are in the image and the likeness of God. You are a God. Every black child should hear that and know that, because the way they make you feel inferior is through religion. Religion is nothing but an inferiority complex to make you think that you need something that's outside of you to be successful, and you don't. Anyway, God bless you. I love you. That's my 15 minutes. I got to go. Bye-bye. I love you. I love you.